Welcome back, everybody, to Keys and Gears. I'm Mark Liesner. I'm a local mortgage broker, and this is Bess Dickson. She is a local realtor here in Texas, and together we have over 40 years of experience. And today we're going to talk about what to do after your day of inspection. We're going to talk about three different things. First thing you should do is take a breather, take a break from that inspection report. Number two is talk strategy with your professional, your realtor. And number three is, keep the bigger picture in mind. When you're dealing with inspections, it's easy to get focused on too many, nitty gritty things. And lastly, aim for a win-win negotiation. And we'll go more in depth on what that means. So first off, take a breather. What do we mean by that, Bess? You've had the day of inspection. Mm-hmm. What happens to a buyer's head during that day?
It can be very emotional.
Yes. Yes.
This you're under contract with something that you took the time to make an offer because this home has stolen your heart, right? And so now you are seeing that heart stealer without her makeup on the day after.
Right. Yes, that's a great way to put it. Yes.
Do we toss her out of the bedroom, or do we just take deep breath? Okay, let's think on this. Let's try to get the emotion here,
right?
And let's look at the facts. Just give me the facts, man.
Well, I don't know about you, but I've been in situations where buyers were ready to throw away the key, no pun intended, before really analyzing the report. And I'd already, having done this so many times, this inspection report was not a surprise to me, okay? And I thought I coached them on a lot of those things leading up to the inspection report, saying, hey, these are things that are probably going to come up. And they were still surprised, and still the sky was falling to the point where they were like, let's just forget about this house. And I'm like, stop, wait, take a breather. Let's time out, sleep on it. Let's get back to this tomorrow. They were in other words, they were in a much too emotional state, mm-hmm. and they were going to make a mistake not buying this house because they were being emotional about it, mm-hmm. right? So that's why you need professionals working with you to say, hey, let's put the emotions aside and let's look at this through a clear head. And you can't do that typically on the same day, right? Especially if the inspection report came back with a
big surprise
or a large number of surprises, and you were not prepared mentally as a mm-hmm. buyer for those surprises, mm-hmm. right? So taking a breather helps with that, but also what else does it do? Taking the breather, to me also, negotiation wise, you let the seller simmer a little bit, right? So you want to add to that what that does?
Let's face it, like some of the best stews and chilies I've ever made just kind of sit and percolate for a while. and negotiation is the same. It's a way to just kind of set the tone. Now, I will say an exception to that would be gas. Over the years, an inspection has revealed that there is an active gas leak in the house. And if it's occupied, when the inspector, while I'm there with my buyer, makes note of this, I am 911 to the listing agent.
Correct.
To say, hey, we're in the middle. The inspector has just revealed that there is an active leak, that there is carbon monoxide in this house.
We're leaving.
So you need to let your sellers know, and I would advise to get a plumber out ASAP.
Yeah.
Gas, by the way, is plumbing. A lot of people call Atmos Gas, which is the gas provider here in Texas, and that is incorrect. The trade that can address a gas leak is a plumber.
Yeah.
So that would be the one thing that we don't breathe on or sleep on or whatever. That's an immediate action. And that's also a courtesy to the listing agent.
Right.
Sadly, what I've heard over the years from listing agents when I've made those calls on occasion is, oh my gosh, we had no idea. Thank you so much for calling. And the sad point is when listing agents finish with the PS, hey, this has happened before in the past. We've discovered via the repair request from the buyer the next day that there is a gas leak, and the agent never let us know. And one extreme example, the agent shared, and that family had a 2-year-old
Oh my.
sleeping in
Terrible.
that house, and
Terrible.
that buyer agent did not let the listing agent know, professional to professional, hey, there's an immediate safety concern in this house.
That's human to human. That's not even professional. That's as a human being, you want them to know you have a major problem in the house that's affecting your safety.
Right.
Get
Now,
out.
Y'all know me. There's something good even in this not good circumstance. For example, the gas leak, and that is by being professional and human to human, and sharing this, I have now built a bridge of trust, further built the bridge of trust between me and the other agent.
Goodwill.
Which does tease up my buyers to be more likely to get where they want to go, to win, to use your phrase.
Yes. Not to be
in the
antagonistic.
negotiation,
Right.
Because I've called from a point of service concern, human to human. That's
So step number 1 is take a breather, take the emotion out, because it also helps negotiation wise. Number 1, it makes the seller think, oh my gosh, what's going on? And you're not, mum's the word. As a buyer agent, you don't say anything. We're not prepared to tell you anything until we're ready to tell you something. And that makes the seller really anxious and, oh my God, what's coming? Which,
but also, it also conveys we are not being emotional reactionaries as buyers.
Correct.
As a buying team, we're not being emotional. We are taking the time to really prioritize and investigate our concerns. So we present from a point of competency and not reactionary, which definitely sets you up as a buyer to be more successful to get to your end game.
And as an agent, being antagonistic with the opposite side
grinds my gears.
Rarely works out. Rarely works out in your best interest as the client, as the buyer. So if you have an agent who is immediately going for the jugular, and hitting the seller over the head or the listing agent, you probably have the wrong agent, because that kind of attitude does not work. This is an emotional buy and sell. This is not business. A lot of agents out there try to make it like this is just business. It's not. You have an emotional seller and you have an emotional buyer.
So now's not
it's
the time
not
to
a
be
transaction.
Wolf of Wall Street.
This is This is not buying and selling stock. This is not selling a company. No. This is emotional for both parties. And keeping that in mind, not being antagonistic, taking a breather, taking a step back, helps both sides to cool off, right? So that brings us to number 2 point, is talking strategy with your agent, right? So you have to have a negotiating strategy to navigate through those repairs.
Correct.
You can't just hit the seller over the head without explanation, without, any kind of...
And you also want to set expectations.
Right.
Both as a buyer and as a list, when I'm talking to the listing agent, you want to set expectations, which is part of the strategy, right? And a strategy that leads to the desired outcome. I had, back in the day, my son was a junior in high school, and he got called out by the vice principal because he was wearing, y'all are going to die, he's wearing a belt that had holes in it. It was not a solid belt. It was like, okay. Well, apparently,
what's wrong with
out
that?
Of code.
What?
Anyway, so the vice principal and I had a little bit of a disagreement on that. Well, then, right after that, this thing called social media started building. So yes, we're talking about dinosaur age, pre-social media, right when social media was, and my son stunt, let's just call it a stunt, on social media to this punk kid. Not that I'm bitter about it as a
Right.
punk kid. Still say he was a punk kid. Anyway, all that to say, so Bess ends up in front of a lawyer at one point discussing next strategy because that's how much it escalated.
Wow.
Okay. Remember, social media is a new thing at this time.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So we have some helicopter parents, and then we have Bess. Helicopter parents being those people.
Right.
The point is, the lawyer said in our chat, Bess, what is the outcome you want? Because in the American justice system,
There you go.
it's not called the American right and wrong system.
That's right.
It's not called
Fair. No.
It is, he's like, what is the outcome you want? Because if we hit that outcome, then justice as defined by you has prevailed.
Correct. And that's the
Right.
same. Great point. That's the way you should feel walking away buying this house. You should feel like,
Right. So only you, so the very interesting tangent. I hope y'all are, either nodding your head or screaming or whatever, but have a reaction to my crazy story. But the point is that, yeah, that's really what the strategy is. So so with that in mind, while I'm coaching and chatting with my buyers, let's talk about this. We looked at it, we've read it. What are your real deal breakers? What are the ones that if we get ghosted by the seller, you're like tapping out, we're
Done.
out of here,
Right.
we're done. Okay. What are the items that if they again ghost us and don't respond, we're like shoulder shrug. Not ideal, but golly, we love this neighborhood.
Right.
Oh, I can only already
Right.
imagine walking Susie Q to school, that sort of thing. And then what are the items that we want to throw in there to enable the seller to be able to redline it and feel empowered?
right.
Because there's a bit of ego involved in all
course.
of this, right?
Yes.
We're asking these people that have spent the last 10, 15 years building memories in this home to pack up those memories
Yep.
and then hand us
Yep.
the keys,
That's right.
right? That's
part-
the end
part-
game.
part of the
so we have to be
strategy.
empathetic with that. And
Right.
so, yes, we want the sellers to feel empowered, not insulted by our ask. So, yes, we put in some red herrings, some things in there as part of the strategy of what are some things that, yeah, sure, it'd be nice if they fix it, but if they don't, we want to put those in there and they can just they can redline the heck out of that. Okay.
And part of the buyer agent's job is to figure out what the seller strategy is from day one. From day one in the negotiation of the contract, at the very beginning, you're already trying to figure out what is the end game for the seller, what's important to the seller. And this will come back to you when we do the negotiation strategy session for repairs. The buyer agent, your agent, will remind you that
have to be in
is
Utah in
most
2 weeks.
likely the seller's strategy is this because of what they want in the end, right?
They want to be done with this house and they want to be out of here because they've got to move out there.
Now, when you decide what the deal breakers are, brings us to the third point. Deciding what the deal breakers are, you got to keep the bigger picture in mind. You got to understand that, am I being penny wise and pound foolish if this repair isn't done? Because I've been in situations where the buyer had such upside in equity because we had done such a good job on the front end negotiating the sales price down, where this repair really wasn't that big a deal because of the money they already made by negotiating the price down, right? And so don't keep the bigger picture in mind. Do you still love the house, even with all its flaws? Even if the seller said no to everything, do you still love this house? Number two, where are you negotiating wise? Have you negotiated very hard up front, and now you're asking for all these other things? So your bigger picture
Are you
is
asking for icing on the cake?
right, and
Yeah.
and which is not fair, in my opinion, to the seller, right? And if you're not being fair about it, and you walk away from something that you wish you had bought. I can't tell you how many clients have come back to me after the fact saying, I wish I'd bought the first house we looked at. I wish I had that first inspection. You told us to buy this house regardless of what the inspection said, and I wish we had bought that house and not this house that we bought.
Because we still stock it on Zillow, and we
Right.
noticed that the value has doubled in the last 3 years.
And that is
Gosh,
somebody.
wish we'd spent $20,000 on this and this.
That is somebody that didn't follow the advice of keeping the bigger picture in mind, right? What do you want to add to that? That's my 10 cents worth on that topic.
And with interest, 20 cents. Yeah, totally. That's good. I think it's
100%, right?
Yeah, good summary. Good summary. But circling back around, I mean, ultimately, what is a good mindset to have when you're negotiating for deficiencies to be addressed? If they're not addressed, if you do get ghosted, I mean, that's really the best benchmark to set you, the buyer, up for success. If these things are not addressed, are you good with walking away, or are you good with moving forward?
Right.
I mean, that's it, right? And as long as you, again, and why do you have that anchor? Because with that anchor, it subtracts out the emotion, right? Before we've gotten into the deep dive nuances of addressing those deficiencies, you already know. I am in the middle of negotiating right now. I'm the listing agent, negotiating some repairs. Oh, here we go again. This may be another episode. They're asking for some repairs to be done that are deficiencies, but were noted by the seller on the seller's disclosure, and were noted in MLS by me in private remarks to the list agent or the buyer's agent before they even looked at the house as deficiencies.
Right.
And now after the inspection, they have come back and asked for those deficiencies to be addressed.
And the response is those were addressed in the sales price that we negotiated, because you already know about these. Now let's talk about the other ones
That
you
agent,
come up
by
with.
the way, is a relatively new agent. And I get the impression that this is like the cousin or the neighbor of the buyer.
Right.
Oh, another episode. Okay.
Yes. Don't hire those
I'm
people.
walking him through the verbiage in the contract, and he's buying in with me on the validity of the seller saying, shoulder shrug,
As is.
hey, we never hid this from you.
Yep.
Never hid this.
No, right. Fair enough. And that brings us to the last point, is it a win-win situation. And by that we mean it needs to be balanced. Both sides need to be getting something. Okay. If you go into this wanting to negotiate win-lose, or if the seller does on the opposite side wants a win and you lose, this is not going to work out for you. Okay, this is going to be really hard, and there's going to be a lot of hard feelings between the two parties. And guess what? A lot of times you are still in contact with the previous owner after the fact. So don't burn that bridge unless you absolutely have to. And if you do burn that bridge, realize my mama always said to me, you're going to meet everybody in your life twice, at least twice. So, be careful.
Time out, Mark Liesner. All right, so you just coached everybody. We just coached everybody for this episode that we've got to leave feelings and emotions over here.
Yeah.
And now you are in closing saying that
Correct.
we're aiming for the win-win. We're aiming for the feel-good.
Right. Because emotions don't leave the house. I mean, they don't leave the table. They're still there, okay? But you making decisions purely on emotion is a terrible idea.
Got it. So there's a balance.
There's a balance there. There needs to be a balance there that you've gotten something out of it, they've gotten something out of it. You both could sit at the same table and sign the closing documents. That was my litmus test. If I could sit at the same table with the seller as a buying agent and the seller's agent, and we could sign on the same day, as in some states they do, at the same table, would we look at each other and high-five each other, or would we be, using expletives?
Ultimately, what is the end game? Talking about the justice, what's the ultimate end game in this transaction that we're discussing? And that is for cash, we're going to hand you cash and you're going to hand us keys.
Right.
That's what this is all about.
Right.
And it's the terms, the nuances, the details of the, hey, I'm going to give you $1 and you're going to give me a key. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we want to stick with the facts for best success. But yes, emotions do come into play.
So on that topic, to close, we have grind my gears on the win-lose situation.
The grind my gears situation.
Yes, tell us your story
what grinds
about
my gears on this negotiation process.
tell us about this, the seller's experience. I think it was on this one,
On
right?
the seller's experience. Well, I mean, no one wants to feel penned in the corner.
Right.
No one wants to feel penned in the corner.
Another negotiating tactic not to do is
Don't pin me in the corner.
That's right.
And so it does irritate the heck out of me. It does grind my gears when either the buying agent on the other side or the listing agent, depending on
right which side you're
I
on.
am
Right.
doing, is so absolutely resolute and unable to come alongside with me to figure out a solution that works for
Right.
everybody. Why does that grind Bess's gears? Because that's my prime directive in my head for every time I'm blessed to ask someone to go through the process, this transaction, whether it's the seller or the buyer, and that is, what are we doing? We're transferring cash in exchange
For keys.
so let's figure out how to do that together, because that's really it. Not that we have to get all kumbaya,
No.
but that is what I have.
But-
I have had agents literally, when I send over my buyer's offer, say, well, just want to let you know, from the seller, it's going to be a hell no. Well, time out. Have you presented it to the sellers yet? How do y'all feel? I mean, how professional is that
Right.
to say that to me directly? And we haven't even gotten to negotiation of repairs yet, and she's already telling me how it's going to be. All right. Is Bess still working through it? Because this is actually something I'm working on right now. Is with this. Is Bess going to keep pursuing it? Yes, because my buyer, we have not hit my buyer's deal breaker yet.
Correct.
And my buyer's statement to me is, I want this place.
And that's my question to the other agent on the other side was always, if I was a listing agent, does your buyer still want this house? If so, let's negotiate this. But it sounds like to me, a lot of times I would also say to them, this repair request you sent over sounds to me like they want to get out of this contract. They don't want this house anymore. And then the buyer agent inevitably will reveal some of the things that are true pain points. That's another negotiating tactic. And the same on the listing side. You know, does the seller still want to sell this house?
But I guess in summation, what grinds my gears is that just agents on either side
Correct.
Forget to be what they're supposed to be, which
Correct.
is fiduciary representative of the party you have been asked to be a fiduciary representative.
And following what they want to have done, right? They forget about it. Instead, they get into a cat fight with the other agent. And I can't tell you how often as a lender today, I get both agents on the phone because the buyer is telling me this deal is falling apart. And I have no idea why. Why is this falling apart? And I'm like, let me call your agent. Let me get in a conference call the listing agent and say, okay, guys, the buyer wants to buy this house. The seller wants to sell. Can we please figure this out? And you'd be amazed how often that's the problem. It's the two agents. It's not the seller and the buyer. The buyer and seller would already figure this out. But it's the agents getting
So the gear
crosswise.
grind, when agents allow their emotions
Right.
to be the filter between resolution solutions.
That's the point. Yep. So there you have it. What to do after inspection, what not to do after inspection, and all the good things.
And all the things in between.
And I'm sure you have a million questions. So email us at keysandgears@gmail.com with follow-up questions that you might have. Comment down below.
Hey, and if any of this has been helpful to you, this episode or any of the others, would you subscribe? 'Cause that's a great way to let us know that, hey, this worked for me, and we'll know what to do more in the future. Besides, of course, you directly commenting and or emailing.
And forward this to other people you think might benefit from our podcast. So we'll see you next time.
We're here to help.